Hello my friends, welcome back to another episode of r/IDOWorkHereLady, where people who work at places get mistaken for regular Joe Schmoes. Guys, listen, I know it's been a few days since I've uploaded, because the world's on frickin' fire, if you haven't noticed. And this is the first time I've gotten in front of my mic in like 4 days. In this episode, there's 3 stories. The first is actually a story that happened to my next door neighbor, and it's about how shaving a beard can get you in some minor trouble with security. The second story is why you should always be nice to everyone. You never know who you're talking to. And we'll finish off with a wholesome story about an employee mishap at a bar. I hope you stay for the stories today and subscribe for future videos. This first story is titled, My Beardless Babyface Gets Me in Trouble at Work. This happened to me a few years ago when I began a new management position at my current job. At the time, I was 35 years old and had been at this company for a few months. Growing up, I've always had a baby face, constantly look like I'm significantly younger than I really am. To this day, at 40, I still get ID'd when I'm at the bar or a liquor store. I eventually figured out that I could hide my baby face and look my age by growing a beard. I discovered this when my old workplace decided to do a charity thing one November, and since then, I kept a good trimmed beard because I love the look of it, the feel, and how I didn't get ID'd at every turn. To also note, I ride my bicycle to work, and I generally get to work about half an hour before anyone else, and this is important. So at the new job, which was in a tall office building, I had my own office, which is down the hall from the receptionist desk near the entrance. The employee entrance was near the back, so whenever the receptionist and my team arrived, they'd all have to walk past my office. At the time, I had lost a bet to a friend and was forced to shave off my beautiful beard. It was a very sad moment for me because I'd spent so much time and money growing and grooming that gorgeous facial hair. Anyway, that particular morning, I had just arrived to work, parked my bike in the storage room as usual, and went to my office to start getting ready. I was still in my biking outfit, sweatpants, workout shirt, older faded hoodie with a big backpack with my towel and work clothes. I was giving myself a moment to put away my bike helmet, my bag into my drawer, and my wallet into my desk drawer. I took an extra couple of minutes to log my bike track to work on my phone too. There's also a shower at work, and I always take a quick rinse to get the sweat off and style my hair before I start the day. I was just starting to go through my cabinets to pull out my shower items when someone knocked on my office door. I looked up to see a couple of security guards, ones who work for the whole building, not for our company in particular. The conversation went something like this. Guard number 1 says, "Morning." I replied, "Good morning." Guard 2 says, "How's it going?" "Good, how about you?" "Not bad, not bad. What are you doing here?" I thought that was a weird thing to ask, but sure, okay. And I said, "I'm gonna go take a shower." Guard 1 says, "You can't do that, kid. This is a private office, and you can't be here." I'm thinking, kid, what's he talking about? Guard 2 says, "I'm gonna have to ask you to leave right away." Both security guards then came into my office, took me by the arms, and started guiding me out. I didn't physically try to fight the guys, knowing full well that the situation could get worse. It didn't stop me from trying to tell them that they were wrong though. I tried telling them, I work here. And guard 1 says, "Kid, you do not. We're gonna escort you out of the building and off the premises. If you make this harder than it should be, we'll have to get the police involved." I was beginning to tell them that I indeed work here, but he interrupted me and said to please cooperate. As they're pulling me out, we start to pass the front desk, where the new receptionist, Katie, was standing with one of my team members, Mark, both of whom were watching me like hawks. Like a helpless child, I called to Mark for help and said, "Mark, help me, please." I saw in slow motion Mark's confused face turn to shock as his eyes opened wide, and he came running over. He stopped the security guards and explained that he knew me and that I indeed worked there. They questioned him a bit and promptly apologized to me. They told me they received a call that there was someone rummaging through my office trying to steal something. Katie then lets out a, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," out of nowhere, scaring all of us. It turns out, the receptionist Katie, who had started earlier in the week, did not know that I biked to work and came in early. She got to work extra early today, and when she came in, She saw me out of the corner of her eye in my office, and 1, thought I was some homeless kid trying to steal something valuable, and 2, didn't recognize me for the life of her since I'd shaved my beard and looked like a tall boy. It didn't help that no one in the office has ever seen me without a beard, so if I didn't call out to Mark for help, I doubt he would have recognized me without my voice. I've done my best to never shave off my beard again. Some people are just cursed with babyface forever, and unfortunately, my neighbor's one of those people. He really does look like a 10-year-old when he shaves his beard, even though he's over 40. When he does have a beard, he actually looks like he's 50. This next story is titled, Poor Parking Garage Behavior Preps Prospective Employee for Poor Performance Eval. Try saying that 5 times. I used to work for a large state agency, and after 5 years had become a manager. My office was in the state office downtown, and parking was scarce, but middle management and upper got reserved parking in the garage attached to our building. This was a great perk, since it's a cold state, and on days that the tower garage is full, you'd have to park at a private garage about a mile away and walk. One day, I had a few errands and pulled up to the garage a little later than usual. By the time I'd gotten there, the sign on the garage said it was full, but I had a parking badge that would let me go in anyway and drive to my reserved parking spot. There was a man at the gate who was trying to get in, despite the sign saying it was full. When I realized he didn't have a badge, I backed up a little and honked my horn to let him know that he could back up. This infuriates him. He gets out of his car and flips me off and hurls some few choice words my way. As he backs out of the spot, I pull up to the gate and he yells some more words my way about how stupid I am and that I can't read that the garage is full. I ignore him and assume he's just some guy there having a meeting at one of the dozen or so agencies in our building and park my car. I get to my desk and get an email from HR that one of the upper managers was sick and that I needed to cover down some interviews. Interviews in our agency start with a group of prospective employees working on a small project together, and then the candidates sit in front of a panel individually. I walk into the room where all the candidates are sitting, and there I see him. Parking jerk. I was in my car, so he didn't get a great look at me, but I knew exactly who he was. The candidates introduce themselves and get to work on their small project. Parking jerk was trying to control the entire process, but they successfully completed the project as a team. The panel then asked all the candidates to go sit in the hall while we discuss, and we would call them in individually when we were ready. Once they were all out of the room, I giddily told my coworkers about my interaction with Parking Jerk, and they die laughing. We call him in first and begin asking him basic employment questions. He's otherwise a strong candidate, but was very full of himself. The rest of the panel goes first. Finally, it's my turn. And I said, "How do you react to stress?" Parking Jerk says, "I handle it just fine. I'm a very level-headed person." I replied, "Come on. Everyone gets a little flustered at some point." He says, "Not me. I'm cool as a cucumber." "So you never do anything like get out of your car and yell at a stranger?" Parking Jerk stands there in silence. And I said, "Or call them names and tell them to, quote-unquote, learn how to read, you effing moron." Blood drains from his face. And I said, "Do you realize this job puts you in front of the media frequently and someone's always watching? Do you realize that if you were to work here, your actions would reflect on not just you, but they would reflect on your director, the department as a whole, and the state government? Do you think that if you were in my position, you would hire someone who behaved as rudely as you did?" Parking Jerk hangs his head in shame and said, "I think I may not be cut out for this position." I told him, "That doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person, but you may not be ready for this job." He was deflated. I really think that was the first time someone had held him accountable for his actions. He did not get the job, but a few years later, I saw him working for another agency, and by all accounts, he sounds like he'd learned. Well, poor Parking Jerk. I'm glad he learned his lesson. This story's titled, Bartender Tries to Throw Me Out. I'm an employee. So, I'm a party host at my place of work, which happens to be attached to a bar. Both businesses are owned by the same man and work hand in hand. I've been an employee on my half for a little over a year now, yet I've never made a run down to the bar before, until yesterday. I'm 18, but I've been mistaken for 13 numerous times. Regardless, I'm far too young to be sat at a bar. For the party I was working though, I had to make runs down to the bar to get my food for my party. So I head down to grab some food from the kitchen and start taking it over, when I hear a lady yell something. I'm a bit on the skittish side, so if someone yells, I'm a deer in headlights. I turn and see the bartender pointing at me, and she calls me over. I toddle towards her like an apprehensive squirrel, and she grabs my arm and tells me I have to leave while she drags me to the door. I was stunned, but I still had the sense to dig my heels in and nearly drag her down. Once she recovered from suddenly holding 95 pounds of dead weight, she once again tells me that I have to leave. I ask why, a very reasonable question, but she looks at me with that disappointed mom face that I'm very familiar with. And she says, there's no way in hell you're 21, and I'm not having a kid here while I'm working the bar. At this point, I have reached my tipping point. I'm pretty easily overwhelmed, and honestly, it was a miracle I lasted that long. I start crying. My words are strained and garbled by sharp breaths and little sobs. I'm stuttering to the point where I might as well have been speaking Morse code when I finally manage to choke out, I'm just trying to do my job. I don't know how much of that sentence was actually intelligible when I said it. Enough, I suppose, because she looked at me with eyes pure of, oh shit. Her talon grip loosened, and for the first time, she noticed what I was wearing. Blue shirt with my works logo, staff, written in big block letters on the back. Unlike some people's stories, mine had a pretty okay ending. The second she realized her mistake, not only did she apologize profusely, but she helped calm me down from the hysterics I'd thrown myself into. Afterwards, she was very nice and quick to help me. The whole rest of the night, if I needed anything at all, she was there asking, "What do you need, baby girl?" Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of r/IDOWorkHereLady. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future stories. I upload pretty much every day for your daily dose of Reddit stories. See you guys in the next one.